Good morning, everybody. Time for knives and coffee again. So today we are going to be discussing if you could only pick one. And I posed that question to myself and you guys. So the video here, once I show you what we got, of course you've probably seen it in the thumbnail, but it's going to be a little more harder to pick one than you think, for me anyway. So there we have our two choices. We have a very, very nice Victorinox. This is Ranger Grip. Quite a handy tool. And of course, one of my all-time favorites, the Leatherman Wave. So, of course, if we're going to decide what we would pick, I guess obviously we need to start with the pros and cons. Or at the very least, features, I guess. So let's get flipped around here real quick, and we'll start with Victorinox Ranger Grip, and we'll go over it first. Here we go. This is a Victorinox Ranger Grip, and I believe it's like 79 or something like that. They got a couple different varieties of these and multicolors. As much as I like to have the black or the OD green one, I did decide to go red just in case it was dropped and I have a little bit better chance of seeing it between the real bright stainless steel and red here. All right, now what this thing has got going for it is its size. If you're going to be using this as, say, a bug out thing, an emergency thing, survival, bushcraft, you name it, kind of tool, now this thing is definitely the ticket. Yeah, no Band-Aid today, guys. My thumb is slightly healing up there. Got a big crescent hook still missing, but she's healing. But this knife has a nice long blade on it and comes from the factory, absolutely hair popping sharp, and is quite tough and durable. You can put this thing through quite a bit and she'll keep asking for more. And it does lock. To press the shield here, so you do have a locking main blade. Let's see, what else do we got? We have flathead, bottle cap lifter, and a small wire stripper. And this, see, is that lock? Nope, no lock there. Not the big deal, I don't reckon. All right, a little bit of grit down there in there. All right, now this is our small flathead. We got a nice can opener. Now I do prefer the other style, but this one, when you work the can, you go forward. With the other styles, you work going the opposite direction. However, it don't take a whole lot to get used to how this one works, and it does work quite well. Real quick, while we're on this side, we have our toothpick and our tweezers, which is nice if you have a tick or a splinter. Now, if I can get it back in there. And real quick on the back side, we have us a corkscrew. And this does come in handy, by the way, if you have like a stubborn knot, you can use the tip of that to help get a knot undone. Assuming, you don't got wine bottles to open while you're out there surviving. We have us a stitch awl. And I will say this, whereas I don't have a big problem with them being on the back of the knife. I mean, just the fact that I got one is awesome. Not so much serious criticism, but I do prefer to have my awl, say like where this one is with the bottle lifter, straight up and down, so I can hold that handle, get into a more tighter spot. Personal preference, but yeah, here, Yellow Jacket. It's got one on it, which is great. And now, the thing that makes this particular knife one of my favorites is that generous saw that comes on this thing. Nice, really sharp 90-degree spine for striking a ferro rod. But that saw is pretty good size, and you can get a hold of larger diameter stuff for shelter building. So this knife has a lot going for it. I'm not going to do demonstrations with any of these tools. I believe I'm going to do a dedicated video for each one of these here in the near future, and we'll actually put their functions to the test. All right, so now, copy. I got my Folgers Classic again. If any of y'all out there have any coffee, like it's more common in your area, so I know like some places prefer Folgers, some Maxwell House. Quite a long time ago, Hill's Brother coffee was very popular in this area. But let me know what is kind of for the area in which you live in. What's your favorite coffee there, or most popular? Next up, we have the Leatherman Wave. Now, I'm not going to debate which Leatherman product is the best, and depending on your situation and your needs, that could really vary. And to say that one is better than the other, I don't know. It's kind of what's best for you. And for me, and I will admit, the only thing that's not got this ranking, absolutely, it didn't have it all on it. Now, if it had it all on it, this would be just the berries. Now, what I do like about this, obviously, is having a pair of needle nose pliers and wire cutters. We got down here at the very bottom for big solid wires, and we got your more regular small gauge wires right here. And we can get hold of some nuts and bolts with this, and we can, provided, they're not super stuck. But there are applications that I can use the pliers for. Making fish hooks, obviously. Manipulating wire. Worst case scenario, if I'm having to sew myself up, I can use this to hold the needle, force the needle through the skin, or sewing up thick, heavy-duty clothes, maybe some leather. It might be nice to have this grab hold of to help force a needle. Or maybe I need to heat a nail to melt a hole through something. Take a hot pots and pans off a fire. There's quite a few uses for this. And that's kind of big. Now, real quick, we have inches and centimeters. And where does this max out? Usually about 6 inches, I think. Yeah, 6 inches. Let me double check. No, we got clear up to 7.5 inches. So a little bit of a tape measure right there, which it would come in handy if by chance you're working on something and you need to know the internal or external diameter of something, a specific length of a machine screw, you name it. There's all kinds of uses for having a measuring device. All right, real quick, since we got it open this way, and we'll go through the internal tools here. There we go. And all the tools on this is locking, which is pretty awesome. We got our can opener, wire stripper, which is actually a really good wire stripper. All right, and we got our bit. Get back here. We got our bit driver. Now, a lot of people love them or hate them, being that these are proprietary, and if you go too hard with them, they will indeed snap. But to keep this thinner profile, and I have a flat and a Phillips in one package. Broken thumb. I like that. Now, I do prefer your normal 3-dimensional bits, and I understand that you really can't fit it in this, is what it is. See on the other side. We have a flat and a light duty pry bar if needs be. And this could also, if you want to risk sharpening it, scraper. Okay, last in here, but definitely not least. They're small scissors, but they're really good scissors. And I used to not really give much credit to scissors when I was a bit younger, but now that I kind of understand all the stuff that I can do with them and how useful they are, they definitely got their place, and I'm actually quite glad to have them. Now let's close our tool up. Right. So there we go. Now we got our saw. These are really good saws, but now this one is obviously quite a bit shorter than the one that's on the Victorinox Ranger Grip. Now, however, it's got, as it does, an incredibly crisp 90-degree spine. Strike a ferro rod like it was just made for it. Very good teeth. This thing actually cuts quite well. All right, now we have serrated blade. Not my favorite kind of blade in the world, but since it has two knife blades on it, I don't mind that this is on here. Now, I typically will use the serrated blade on this tool as, my rough task. If I'm doing something that could damage the edge, I'm going to use this. We got this nice little bit right there, and that's really good for draw cuts. Actually, if I don't have no other thing to do it with, if I had anything with serrated on it, I actually use these as wire strippers, actually. But getting right to it, since we got our main blade and it's no serrations, that's why I don't mind having that serrated blade on there. Now this thing came wicked sharp, the hair popping sharp, and it's a nice clip point. I can do a lot with this. I mean, this designed for his bushcrafting stuff, even game processing. It's a nice design for doing a whole plethora of knife tasks. Quite like it. And of course, our file. Got a diamond file and a crosscut file. And we have a file on the bottom. And typically, I don't have to use these a lot, but like I said, when I was making the fish hooks, they come in handy. Maybe I need to knock the rust off of something. It will scrape a rod too. I do like on the Surge, where that actually is detachable, and I do see the reason behind that, because I could take it off this if I had to use the diamond side to restore the edge on the actual knife blades. However, it's a good file, even though this one's permanently attached, unless you got it's a pain in the butt to do it, so I wouldn't want to do it in the field, but you can take that apart and replace it when it wears out. But everything locks too, so every tool on this thing locks. Weight wise, it's not too bad. It's a medium duty multi-tool, so the weight's not too hateful. So now this one comes with a sheath, but you can obviously carry that in your pocket if you needed to. Now, I was at debate, and I stopped the debate real quick because that didn't come with it, and the bit sets didn't come with it. I bought that extra, so we're not using that in our criteria. Now, like I said, this stuff is pretty nice, the extras, but the only thing that came with this was a carrying case, so I'm not taking into account the bit extension or this extra pack of bits. So it's just the carrying case and the multi-tool itself as it came versus the Victorinox. All right, so let's get the camera reset after we get in there and swig of coffee. And we are going to get down to the nitty gritty. So, okay, guys, if I could only choose one, and if you guys could only choose one, what are you going with? Now, this is a little bit lighter than the Leatherman Wave, not a whole lot. It's got a longer knife blade and a longer saw. And that actually does, in and of itself, between the longer saw and the stitch awl, makes it a little more difficult for me to make choice. However, given a long, good thought, the whole time I've been talking, obviously the reasonings and stuff is going in my head for making up my decision. So, me personally, I'm going to go with the Leatherman Wave. And it's more close than you think. And truly and honestly, the biggest decision factor in that is having the pliers. What I can do with these pliers is such a benefit to whatever situation I could find myself in that it outstripped the longer saw and the awl that's on this. Now, if I really, really desperately needed to have an awl, I could turn this into one. But, I am not to where, I think I need to do that. So basically it's like, well, if you're only going to have one of these things on you, what are the limiting factors of what you can do with it? And outside of this awl, that's the only thing that this tool here doesn't have. And I could probably improvise that myself. If I had to, I could find a piece of metal and using this to manipulate it and take it in and out of the fire and find something for a simple hammer and anvil. I could probably fairly well make something that will work as an awl. And I've even got a file on here to sharpen up one side of that awl to make it cut better. There's just too much more I can do with this than I can do with this. And yes, I know you can make wooden pliers, but, stainless steel ones with cutters. And I'm not knocking anybody's decision. Like I said, I'm kind of asking the question for me and you, and there is no judgment because neither one of these is a bad choice. Both of these are absolutely fantastic tools. Like I said, believe it or not, it was actually harder for me to choose than you might have think. I know it just seems so simple after the video edits. I'm like, okay, here's my decision, but it's coming from many, many years of use. And as long as I've had Victorinox products and Leatherman products, I find in my personal situations and where I live and what I get into, that I get more value for me out of having a multi-tool like the Leatherman Wave with a good set of pliers on it. Because I'm usually doing a lot of do-it-yourself stuff, working homestead, farming, and, gardening and all that kind of stuff. How often I actually use a pair of pliers, and I need to tighten a screw. Of course, obviously, this has the ability to do that, but this does it a little bit better. And I just can't get over the fact that we got the pliers on there. Like I said, now the only thing truly missing, and it wouldn't even been a thought in my mind. I mean, the competition would have been pretty sore for this little guy. If this had had the awl on it, then it would absolutely blew this one out of the water. As much as I absolutely like this tool, it is fantastic. The awesome thing is I don't have to choose this one. I can carry both, which is fantastic. Now, if I'm going out in a wilderness situation, we're doing the camping bushcraft kind of thing, then yeah, absolutely, I'm bringing both. because, like I said, now this saw, that is really nice, man. This saw works incredibly well, and that length of a saw is perfect for getting the size diameter small saplings and stuff that I need to build a sturdy shelter. The saw is just the right size. I don't need no bigger saw than that. Now it does take longer versus having my Silky Pocket Boy. It doesn't cut near as fast as that, but that's a dedicated saw. That's all it does. And for this in itself, though it's a pocket knife form, this is still a multi-tool. And that is a fantastic saw. So if none of y'all have had any Victorinox products, and you're looking to purchase one, maybe just for camping, or you're going to get into bushcraft and stuff, I recommend this, because this thing is set up quite well for it. And like I said, between the saw and this knife blade and that awl, those are three really strong primary tools for bushcrafting. They kind of really cover most of your bases that way. However, and like I said, don't nobody get sore at what I choose, because just because I chose it doesn't mean if you chose the other that you're wrong. It doesn't mean that at all. I just simply want to do the thought experiment, like run it through my head. And that makes me think of all the situations I could get into, emergency situations, like maybe even a broken down car, where this is definitely not the greatest tool to have in there. But if I'm dealing with some electrical issues, some wires, pulling some fuses, stuff like that, pretty handy. Like I said, it's all your tools is usually, like I said, based on where you're at, your environment, what kind of lifestyle you lead, what's your skill levels. But if this tool doesn't have much use for you for whatever reason, then this may be more apt to be what you want. But guys, with that, got dust on there, coffee. So I posed the question. Now you guys know my choice. I'd like to know your guys' choice. You can only pick one. Which would it be? And that, appreciate you watching. I appreciate your time. You guys have been the best audience I think anybody could ever ask for. Most of you, 99.9% of you, are polite and respectful, and it's greatly appreciated, each and every one of you. And I'll see you all in their video.